no photographing or whatever, just to save you the
Sure.
challenge. I'll do that.
Yeah, sure. You want to start?
Okay, let's start.
Yeah.
I think I need to. No, I can use this one.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, everyone. My name is Wael Musa. I'm the Dean of the Entrepreneurship Institute at King Fahd University of Petroleum and Minerals. And I'm an associate professor also by profession in electrical engineering. And it gives us a great pleasure and honor to welcome you to this workshop on principles of design thinking. I have here with me two gentlemen who have developed over the last 5 years this know-how on design thinking. They have the experience, delivering this, type of content to our students, to do also executive training, beyond KFPM, to faculty at KFPM. And I have engineer Muhammad Riyad, and also engineer Danish Hishman. A few rules that we're going to state because, actually متعاقدين, right? And I think you guys were with me yesterday in the design thinking workshop in the entrepreneurial leadership workshop is that, first of all, we need your full attention because this workshop is very highly interactive. There will be like some exercises. There are things that you need to intercept. We need to intercept the concepts that the guy is going to talk about through the practice-based learning activities, and also maybe they're going to have, I think, one or short cases, if not mistaken, and they're going to hand over the material for you. Secondly, we'd like to, and because of this high attention, we'd like that to limit the use of the mobile phones, no videotaping, no recording, whatever, because already Asbar is filming this whole workshop. It's going to be available for everyone to watch it. So I've been to Babson, I've been to Harvard, I've been to so many places in the U.S. People, when they come to workshops of this type, they really adhere and make full attention. So it's not that we are putting rules or whatever on people, but this is to maximize the productivity of the workshop, right? And we are very, very happy and delighted to give this workshop in Asbar over here. And we hope you're going to have an enjoyable day and have fun. And I think I'll leave the floor to Riyad to start. I think as well Riyad will tell you that please feel free to ask any questions at any time, because we want also you just to be active participants. And regarding the certificates, if you want certificates, make sure that your name is listed with the guys at the spot that you attended. Certificates will all be given, and I think the guys will also take attendance at the end of the workshop for those who attended the whole day, the whole workshop. The workshop is, I think, we'll finish at 2:30, right?
2:30, yeah.
2:30. So please, ya Jama'ah, we have this experience and we have a rule and policy at KFPM. Okay, so and I appreciate your cooperation, inshallah ta'ala. So if you don't have any questions, I'll hand the mic to my colleagues. طيب أتمنى لكم إن شاء الله يوم سعيد إن شاء الله تعالى.
Thank you.
You can close. You can use it.
Yeah, sure. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good morning to this workshop on principles of design thinking. My name is Muhammad Riyaz Ahmed, and I work as startup executive at KFPM Entrepreneurship Institute for the past 4 years. And we started developing this module called design thinking 3 years ago for our KFPM entrepreneurs. And we have been doing that ever since. And apart from that, we also did this workshop for the faculty at KFUPM as to how they can employ the design thinking principles in their classes. And so we are here again, and we hope to make sure that the session is fruitful and enjoyable for all of you. And during the course of the presentation, if there are any questions that you have, just feel free to raise your hands, and inshallah we'll be more than happy to answer your question. It's clear? Okay. So before we actually begin the Before we actually begin the workshop, we'll do a quick exercise. How about that? Okay. So as you can see here, I have this bag with me, which has certain number of colored balls inside it. So as it is written here, can everyone see? So it has 4 yellow balls, it has 3 blue balls, 3 green, and 2 red balls. So what I'm going to do now is pass this bag around to probably the colleagues in front, all right? So what we have to do is draw one ball from the bag, and the rule of the game is whoever draws the red ball wins the game. As simple as that, all right? So we'll have two winners in this exercise. Why? Because we have two red balls in this, all right? So we'll begin with you first, okay? Just show it to the class once you draw it. Okay, that's a green one. You want to go next?
Can I take more than one?
No, only one is allowed.
I'm the winner.
That's a red one, yeah? So we have one winner already. You want to go next? Yeah, it's anyone. Yellow, okay.
Can I see it?
No, of course. It has to be without seeing, yeah. So we still have one red ball to go, by the way. Yeah. Okay, not yet. Okay, that's the second red ball. So we'll finish the exercise now because we already have the two winners.
Someone just left and I vote someone else instead.
Okay, sure. So now let's do the same exercise again, and the rule is still going to be the same. Whoever draws the red ball wins the game. But this time the change is that I'm not going to tell you as to what is there inside the box. All right, as you can see, so I don't know as to how many colored balls are there, right? Whether there are any red colored balls, I don't know, right? But we'll do the same exercise again and let's see who draws the red ball, right? So because I did it here, let's start from here. Okay. There is one. Okay. You want to go next? Okay. There's a pink ball, by the way, a new color. Another pink. Yellow. That's
Nothing.
definitely not red.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think we are almost done. We'll finish with this table and then
Yellow.
we'll reflect on the exercise. Okay.
Only one.
That's it. So we had just one red ball.
You know, I have something I observed.
Okay.
The second person that withdraws from each table
Uh-huh.
got the red ball.
Really? That's an observation, huh?
Yes, that's
Okay.
the I realized that is it coincidence or because of that?
Just a mere coincidence. Yeah, absolutely. So let's reflect on the exercise that we just did. So we had two bags, right? The first one had 4 yellow balls, 3 blue, 3 green, and 2 red, whereas the second bags had nothing. So first tell me, how many of you prefer the first bag? By show of hands. Okay, and why is that? You want to?
What's the question again?
How many of you prefer bag 1 over bag 2? Bag 1? Yeah. You know your chances. Okay, that's good. What about others? You had some?
I prefer bag 1 because you know the probability.
You know the probability. Absolutely. That's good. Interesting. Any more? I saw some more hands.
Yeah, the same reason.
Okay. You know your chances basically.
Does it
Okay.
make a difference that you know your probability?
It depends on a person's choice. For example, for them it's bag 1. So does that mean that bag 2 is the choice for others? How many of you prefer bag 2, by the way? Bag 2, yeah. Why is that?
I like the possibility
Okay.
it will happen,
Okay.
regardless if it can be counted or not.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Any more thoughts? Yes. Yes, sir.
I prefer bag 2 because there's more chance for imagination.
More chance for imagination. Why? You can expect anything, by the way. Why? Because you don't know what is there inside the box. So this simple exercise was to demonstrate to you the difference between risk and uncertainty. All right? So if you go by the definition, what is uncertainty? It's a state where it is impossible to predict a future outcome. Going by the exercise that we just did, right? It's a state where you cannot predict as to who is going to draw the red ball. Can we? We can't. Why? Because we don't know what is there inside the box. Uncertainty. What is risk? Risk is a state where some possible outcomes might result in an undesired effect or loss. So we know that if you draw any other colored ball apart from red, will result in loss, right? And the only way you can win is by drawing the red ball, right? So that's the concept of risk, the difference between risk and uncertainty. In other words, just to make the concept simpler for you, risk, we don't know what is going to happen next, but we do know what the distribution looks like. Fair enough? So I cannot predict as to what this gentleman is going to draw. I cannot predict, right? But I do know that he is going to draw one of the 4 colored balls. Agreed? Whereas uncertainty, again the same rule applies. We don't know what is going to happen next. We don't know what colored ball you are going to draw. And I also do not know what the distribution is. I also don't know as to what is there inside the box, right? So I cannot predict as to whether there is a red ball in it or no. We found a pink ball, by the way, if any of you noticed, right? Which was not part of the bag 1, right? So that is uncertainty. Can anyone give some examples to explain the concepts of risk and uncertainty from your daily life? Any examples?
Simply the weather. The weather is considered an uncertainty.
Okay.
So you can go out wearing, especially in Riyadh in the winter.
Okay.
You can go out wearing prepared, big jacket, thick scarf.
Okay.
And suddenly it's all hot.
Absolutely. So that's uncertainty, right? Okay. Any more examples of risk and uncertainty? I mean, when we did this exercise with the students, they say multiple choice questions. Here's an example of risk, right? You have 4 choices, right? You know one of them is the right answer. So that's the example of a risk, right? Roll of a dice. We all know dice, right? We know that it has 6 possible outcomes. But when I roll it, I don't know what I'm going to get, right? So that's an example of risk, right? Another example, if I were to give you to demonstrate the difference between risk and uncertainty. How many of you follow football here? Or soccer, as they say in US? Football. Okay. So let's say we have 2 very popular teams playing, say Real Madrid and Barcelona. And they have a match that is scheduled tomorrow. Alright? But I have a certain past record as to their past performances, right? For example, the previous record says that Barcelona, they do well only when Messi is playing well, alright? And for this particular game, for some reason, he is injured, right? So based on the past data, I can predict that if Messi is not going to play the match, Barcelona might lose, right? I can at least predict, right? And same goes for the other team, all right? So I can have some sort of a prediction based on the past performances of the teams. To judge, I'm not saying to judge accurately, but at least to give some prediction as to who is going to win, right? So that is risk, right? As to predict as to who is going to win is a risk. On the other hand, let's take the example of another 2 teams who we have not heard of at all before, right? 2 completely new teams. You don't know any of the players in those teams. Can you predict as to who is going to win? Can you?
No.
Why is that?
Because it's uncertainty. You don't know anything about them.
Absolutely. You don't have any past data to guide you in the future. Clear? That is uncertainty. Yes, sir.
I think you can manage the risk and you cannot manage the uncertainty.
Absolutely. Thank you for that point. So risk is something that you can measure, right? There are certain control measures that you can apply to measure the risk. Remember the hot topic of risk management, right? So there are certain tools and procedures that one can follow based on the past data to measure or control the risk, right? But uncertainty, because it's like a black box, you cannot predict anything. Clear? So it's like a black box, uncertain. Why? Because the past data, we don't have any past data to guide us into the future. Clear? So that's the concept of risk and uncertainty. So let's list some of the notable differences, and I want you to give me the answers to this question. Underlying distribution, what do you think? Is it known or unknown for risk? As to what is there inside the box, let's say the distribution.
For risk, it's known.
For risk, it's known, right? We knew as to what was there in the first bag, right? We knew what was there. So the distribution is what? Known. What about uncertainty? Unknown. You don't know as to what is there inside the box. What about potential outcomes?
For the risk, it's known.
For the risk, it's known, right? Why? Because the distribution is known, reflecting back on the first point. Agreed? So potential outcomes is known. What about uncertainty? Unknown. You don't know. Why? Because you don't know what is there inside the box. Clear? What about assigning of probabilities?
No.
No?
No, you know the probability.
You know the probabilities, right? Now let's say, for example, I have 3 balls remaining in the first bag and nobody has drawn the red ball. So can I predict?
Yes.
Absolutely. I can assign probabilities, right? I can be sure that 2 out of the next 3 would be red, right? I can assign probabilities to that. Agreed? So you can assign probabilities. What about the second instance? Can you? You cannot. Why? Reflecting back on the previous points. The distribution is not known for us, right? We don't know what is there inside the box. What about predicting the future? In the first case, what do you think?
Yes.
You can, to an extent, based on past events, right? Same example that I just gave. For example, you didn't get the red ball until the last 3 instances. I can predict the future, right? Based on the past events that I had. Whereas uncertainty, you cannot predict the future. Why? Because it's like a black box. You are uncertain. And how about management and control? What do you think? Risk, can it be managed and controlled? As the gentleman at the back said, it can be based on certain measures, right? There are certain control measures that one can employ to control and manage risk. What about uncertainty?
You can't manage, but you can't control it.
Absolutely, you cannot, right? Why? Because you don't have any past data to guide you in the future, right? And the reason why we discussed the concept of risk and uncertainty is to answer this question. What kind of a world are we living in today? That's a question for you. What do you think? It's a mix of both risk and uncertainty. Okay. Based on your own experience, based on the happenings around you, what we can say is that we live in a world that is rapidly changing, right? And it is full of complexity and uncertainty, right? As a business organization, let's say I am the CEO of an organization, I cannot predict as to how my company is going to do tomorrow. Why? Because my environment is changing at such a rapid pace, right? So it becomes a challenge to address to the changes. And because of this uncertain nature of the world, there are certain challenges that all organizations face today. Whether you're in business, whether you're in education, because of the uncertain nature of the world, there are certain challenges that we face. What are some of the challenges? This is again a question for you. Yeah.
Technology.
Technology is changing at a rapid pace. That's a challenge.
Governmental regulations.
Absolutely. Excellent. Governmental regulations change, right? And it impacts how the business is run. Absolutely. Right? So governmental regulations is another. Sorry? Natural disaster is a challenge, right? You cannot predict that. The unfortunate crane accident that happened in Haram, nobody saw that coming, did we? Right? It just happened, right? Yes, sir.
Economic crisis.
Economic crisis. For example, a country is going through recession. The sudden decrease in oil prices, right? We didn't see that coming, right? So that's a challenge for organizations. Don't you agree? Yeah. What more? Yes. Sorry? Politics, of course, is a challenge. Yes.
Excuse me, those are not
challenges that bring uncertainty.
No, no,
They
yeah.
bring risk, not uncertainty.
Okay.
Because any CEO, any manager, he can predict, he can do something like ratios or measurement and expectations.
Okay.
We are talking about uncertainty for organizations. We
Mhm.
are talking about managers who cannot control anything.
Absolutely.
That will be uncertainty.
Absolutely.
Like an investor who is going
Yeah.
to the financial market without any knowledge, he
Mhm.
will really go for uncertain investment. But if
Okay.
you have some knowledge and financial analysis and some ability,
Absolutely.
that will be risky investment.
Absolutely. So you can say, what you can say is that risk is a part of uncertainty,
And the part of the knowledge.
part of the knowledge. Absolutely. If you have the knowledge, if you have the know-how that can guide you as to what measures should be taken, that is like a controlled risk. You're trying to control the risk, right?
So
That-
you can move the uncertainty situation to be a risky
a risk taking. Absolutely, that can be done. I'm not saying that every situation is uncertain. There are certain situations wherein you have the past data that can guide you in the future, right? So that's not really uncertainty, right? But what you can say is that because there is that element of loss that is involved, right? So we say that risk is a part of uncertainty, right? So do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, sure. You had something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that uncertainty
Mm-hmm.
is a challenge as well. So
Absolutely.
uncertainty is a risk.
Is a challenge as well, right? And because of the
Uncertainty is one of the factors that is
one of the factors. Yeah, yeah, sure, yeah. As for the example of a lady gave an example of the what was the example? Natural disaster, right? Uncertainty. You cannot predict, right? So that is also a major challenge, right? So if I were to list some of the major challenges, I'm not talking about all the challenges, but some of the major challenges that business organizations face, the ever increasing competition, right? So if you are launching a product, tomorrow you'll have a competitor in the market who is offering the same thing that you are offering, maybe at a better price than you, right? So it's a challenge for organizations to survive. Don't you agree? Right? So the competition is so cutthroat these days. For example, if you want to launch a new mobile phone, imagine the kind of competition you're getting into, right? How can you make yourself stand out from the rest, right? So that's a challenge that organizations face, right? So ever increasing competition. Can we agree on that? So that's a major challenge that organizations face. Yes.
People and what they like today, they don't like tomorrow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll come to that, by the way. Yeah. So this is one major challenge. What else? The cash and resources management. This is another challenge that organizations face today, right? If a government is going through recession, imagine the kind of impact it will have on how the organization is run, right? You don't have money, how will your business sustain, right? So cash management, resource management, what resources do I have as an organization? It becomes a challenge for me, right? Don't you think? So cash and resource management is a major challenge that, especially startups, especially for entrepreneurs, it's a challenge for them, right? Especially in the initial stage. Yes, sir.
It is a challenge of cholesterol because the challenge will push you forward. And
Absolutely.
cholesterol will push you
Backwards, yeah. So it depends on how the individual takes it, right? If he takes it as a challenge, right, which can push him to work even harder, right? So that he's taking that challenge in a positive way. You can say that, right?
Depends on how prepared you are.
Absolutely. Depends on how prepared you are. Yeah.
I think all the best factors,
Uh-huh.
political, economical,
Absolutely.
social and technological,
Mhm.
it is uncontrollable.
Okay.
From the outside and from the
Absolutely.
external
Absolutely.
environment.
Yeah.
And then there is something internal environment.
Absolutely.
So we can
Control them, basically.
control everything.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. The external, absolutely. For example, the governmental regulations that we saw. I mean, you cannot control that, right? You cannot control that. If there is a change in governmental regulation, your goal should be how do I address that change, right? How do I address that within my capacity? If I were to put it in this way, how can I address the change in governmental policies as an organization, right? Maybe I have to shut shop, I don't know, right? Why? Because the change in regulation will not enable me to run my company smoothly in the future, right? So that can be an action that you might take. Agreed? Okay, you had something?
If you are a startup business and if you have like a small budget or something, and is it better to keep it as a cash, because there's always a saying that cash is a king.
Absolutely.
Or you invested in asset.
Absolutely.
So which better decision?
I mean,
It depends.
it depends on what idea you're working on, right? It varies from idea to idea. Maybe your idea is something, if it involves technology and it needs high amount of investment initially, right? So you'll have to be, cash will be a critical factor for your sustainability. On the other side, for example, if I'm developing a mobile app, for example, it will not require something substantial as compared to the case wherein I'm developing a technology, for instance, right? So it varies from idea to idea. So as an entrepreneur, as the head of the organization, it is your responsibility to think about how you're going to control the money, right? Because especially in the initial stage, if you run out of money, I mean, the startup is dead, right? So you have to manage the money well. That is a challenge, and that is the challenge that we just mentioned here, right? Cash and resource management is a major challenge for organizations. What else? Customer mindset, as some of you said, right? Why? Because he has so many products to choose from, right? So today he is selecting your product. Tomorrow he might find a better product to use, right? Which is maybe at a cheaper price than what you are offering it at, right? So he might make a shift from your product to your competitors, right? So the change in customer mindset is another challenge, right? Like what we face. I mean, one thing that we can do in this is that we might create a certain product and then give it to the customer to make him aware as to how this product is going to help him, right? But maybe the customer doesn't need that, right? Maybe the customer doesn't need that. His need is something less, right? So instead of you pushing your product on the customer, it should be the other way around, right? You have to offer to customers what they want to have, right? So identifying the right customer need is a challenge for organizations. What else? Having sound marketing strategy. Don't you agree? Marketing is a challenge, right? In the advent of social media, we have social media that has become so powerful today, right?
Marketing or competition?
Sorry?
Marketing or competition?
Marketing, how you will make the customer aware of your product, what marketing channel you are going to use.
I think competition. Competition is the real work.
Competition is a challenge. Competition is a challenge based on who else is offering the product that you are trying to offer. For example, a mobile phone, right? I have tens of other people who are offering mobile phones, right? So I have competition there. Whereas marketing strategy, for example, I'm selling my product on Amazon.com, right? So that is the channel that I'm using for the customers to buy my product from, all right? And let's say if some customer doesn't like your product, he writes a bad review about your product. That's a negative publicity, right? That's a negative marketing for you, right? So the channel that I'm using, which is Amazon, is actually creating negative publicity for me, right? So that's a challenge. That is the power of social media these days, right? So if you're doing something good, within minutes you see that going viral, right? We hear the word viral so much these days, right? Things going viral, right? And on the flip side, it can lead to detrimental effects as well. If your customer doesn't like your product, he writes a bad review and then that thing goes viral, right? So marketing strategy, how do I make the customers aware of my product? What channel do I use, right? Facebook, Twitter, Amazon, social media, what channel do I use? Do I sell my product through retail shops? So these are the challenges, right? Marketing strategies that you employ, right? And what else? I mean, somebody said governmental regulations, right? That's a challenge. A change in governmental regulation I mean, it becomes a challenge, something that is uncontrollable for you as an organization, right? How do I get the right people on board, right? Team management is a challenge, right? How do I find the right staff for my company, right? It's a challenge for organization. So what do you think, based on the challenges that we saw now, what do you think organizations should do to overcome these challenges? What do you think? Yes?
Stay ahead of competition.
Stay ahead of competition? Okay.
Don't wait until someone else releases something. Innovate. Go
Okay.
the extra mile.
Okay. Innovate is the key word. Okay.
Developing the human resource.
Develop the human resources. Okay. That could be one way.
To create more solutions.
Okay. Fair enough. You had something?
They need to learn fast and move fast.
Learn fast and move fast. Okay. Plan. Okay. Yes? Effective money management. Okay. That is one way. Yes?
Educate your team members.
Okay. Team members. Okay. You had something?
Keeping agile and
Keeping agile. Agility. Okay. So, if I were to sum that up in one word, what organizations need to do is basically, as some of you said, innovate. Innovation is the buzzword today, right? So, innovation is what companies need to do to address the challenges that we just saw, right? Now, this brings me to the question as to what is innovation? What is innovation?
Thinking out of the box.
Thinking out of the box. Okay, good. Any more thoughts? Yes?
Take a risk.
Taking risk, that is innovation. Any more thoughts?
Go ahead. Don't stop.
New experience.
New experience is innovation. Change. You had something?
Go ahead. Don't stop.
Go ahead, do not stop. Okay.
Get up.
Sorry?
Don't give up.
Don't give up. Okay.
Solutions and new products.
Solutions and new products. Okay.
We can say like stop doing things could be innovation. We can say that going over disruptions could be
Okay.
innovation.
Okay. That could be innovation. Yes.
Differentiate yourself from the others.
Differentiating yourself from others. Huh? How you're different from others, from your competitors. Yes.
Use all your resources.
Using resources, effective use of resources, basically. Yes.
Create what the customer needs.
Create what customers want. That is innovation. I like this discussion, right? We have different viewpoints on innovation. We'll look into that, inshallah, and it will be good, inshallah.
Innovation is also efficiency and effectiveness.
Efficiency and effectiveness. Okay. Yes.
We should make understanding for the innovation and creativity.
Okay.
Because creativity is different than innovation.
Okay.
Some comments here
Mm-hmm.
define the creativity, not innovation.
Okay.
I think innovation linked with more with the technology,
Okay.
product, more than creativity, which is something
Okay.
out the box.
Okay.
Trying to find solution for
Okay.
our challenge in
Okay.
daily
Okay.
life.
Okay.
So if we
Distinguish. We'll look at the definition of innovation first, and then we'll see as to how different it is from creativity, which is, I agree, there is some sort of confusion as to what is creativity and innovation. We'll look into that. Okay. Yes.
Thinking out of the box.
Thinking out of the box, reflecting back. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Efforts management.
Efforts management. Okay. That is innovation. Yes. Enhance the technology. Okay. Any more thoughts? Yeah.
Could be answering this question. It's a way to overcome the challenges.
Sorry.
It could be
Okay.
the answer of this question.
Okay.
The way of overcoming
Challenges.
challenges.
Okay. Okay. So what we can say is that different people have different perspectives as to what innovation is, right? We'll look at some definitions and then we'll try and conclude as to what innovation is. So one definition says innovation is turning an idea into a solution that adds value to the customer. That is innovation. As some of you said, adding value to customer, right? That is innovation, which is correct, by the way, right? That is also innovation. Let's look at some other definitions.
Is Is it
Yeah.
adding value or create a solution?
Adding value.
What's this definition?
Adding value.
Innovation.
Uh-huh.
To add value,
Uh-huh.
okay, or to create a solution, and that solution that's accepted or that can add value or that can be accepted by others.
A solution. Yeah.
Two parts in this definition, I believe.
Okay. What is that? What's that?
A solution that adds value. So I believe solutions means something that you produce to face something or to create something new or to
Okay.
add value with the new things or new features,
Okay.
new perspective for customers.
Okay.
So if we are talking about adding value, we can
Uh-huh.
all the time add the value for students in universities,
Mhm.
for those who come to us, because we add value all the time, whether we
Okay.
innovate or not, or without
Okay.
innovation.
Okay.
Maybe the traditional system in any organization can add value to its customers or its employees.
Okay.
But new solutions that add value, this is the innovation.
Okay.
This is what.
Okay. Let's say my product is a toothbrush. Will it add value to my customer? Will it add value?
Sure, without value, I will not buy anything.
It is solving my problem, right? It is helping me clean my teeth, right? So in that aspect, it is adding value to my life, right?
It's a commodity.
Exactly.
It's a commodity. It's a product.
Toothbrush is a commodity. So
Absolutely.
it doesn't
So
have-
let's say, for example, I come up with a new kind of toothbrush, which is different from what is already available in the market. That you can say is what? Innovation. Why? You're trying to create something new, right, which is different from what is already there in the market, right? And it has to add value to the customer that you're designing the product for. Of course, it has to be there, all right?
At this point, I believe that we have to differentiate again between innovation and creativity.
Creative, okay.
If I create a new product, that
Okay.
doesn't mean just innovation. This is about creativity.
Okay. So we'll look into that, because for the sake of time, we'll just proceed and then we can look into that, all right? Okay. So this is one definition of innovation, all right? Let's look at some other definitions. The application of ideas that are novel and useful. This is another definition of innovation, right? What else we have? This is probably the simplest and the most powerful definition that you can say. Staying relevant. If you are managing to stay relevant with the changing time around you, you are in a way innovating, right? No matter what way you are proceeding in, what direction you are proceeding in, if you are staying relevant with the changing times, you are innovating, right? So what you can say is that the definition of innovation is that executing an idea which addresses a specific challenge and achieves value for both the company and the customer. What do you think is the difference between this one and the first definition that we saw? What do you think? Yes. The first definition was about adding value to your customer. Yeah.
The differentiation is this one, the ultimate definition, consider both the company and the customer.
Absolutely.
Which is a comprehensive view for innovation.
Absolutely. So for example, if I'm designing a product that is adding value to customer, but as a company, I'm not making any profits out of it. So will that be an innovative product? Will that be an innovative product? No, right? At the end of the day, you as a company have to make money as well, right? You have to gain profits as well, right?
But still, nevertheless, you're differentiating.
Between?
Yeah. If you're creating something that adds value to the customers, you're differentiating to yourself from the competition. So
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to make direct money, but nevertheless, you're investing in the branding.
Okay.
In the product itself. So.
Okay. For now, for the sake of time, can we agree that innovation is something that has to add value to your customer and to you as a company as well, right? Okay. Yes.
I think it's some, in two definitions, there are some missing.
Uh-huh.
All definitions start with the idea.
Idea, yes.
But I think you need a step for this.
Okay.
Start from knowledge and information.
Yeah, that knowledge and information. Okay.
Information you can make idea and translate it to.
Absolutely. So idea, you can say, is the foundation of innovation. Unless and until you have an idea, you cannot innovate, right? So you can say idea is the basis of innovation. You have to have an idea first, and then how you convert that idea into a solution that brings value to both the customer and to you as a company is innovation. All right? So now we have looked at the definition of innovation. Now the next question would be, before that, let's have a look at this 3-minute video that explains what innovation is.
It is innovation. Life is made of dots. Many, in fact most people, believe that the dots they see every day are all the dots there are. So life goes along according to these known dots. Decisions and solutions are based on these commonly known dots, as well as many conclusions too. Some companies build their entire businesses on these known dots. This we know as the status quo, business as usual. Then one day, someone comes along and sees one or more dots beyond the commonly agreed upon dots. Dots that others miss, dots that are ignored, dots that others have long since forgotten about. Some like these new dots and celebrate this new discovery, liking how things currently are, comfortable with everyday dots. Some protest these new dots. Some even claim they aren't valid, or worse, are imaginary dots that don't even exist. Yet, it's these new dots that potentially change everything. What is the source of these new dots? Notions. Unexpected connections. Ideas. Possibilities. And imagination. Fire was one of these dots. So was the wheel. And the bicycle. And the automobile. And the computer. As well as the internet, smartphone, and the tablet. In fact, many of today's common dots were at one time uncommon, newly introduced dots. So what is innovation? Those other dots, the ones others miss, and having the certainty to know that the dots you see are not only valid, but necessary if the world is to move forward.
Clear? So the new dots that we see is what is known as innovation, right? So let's move ahead. So what about the types of innovation? Where exactly you think you can innovate? It's a question, right? So what do you think? Ideas? Sorry? Everything? Okay. Technology? Okay. Any more thoughts as to where exactly you can innovate? Business model, you can innovate in how you develop your business model? Anywhere in your life, okay. Okay. Processes, okay. Okay. What else? Let's say I own a company, for example. I have a company. So where exactly can I innovate? Can I innovate in everything, or can I innovate in the product itself, or what do you think?
The way even I give my service.
Okay. The service basically, the services that I offer, you can innovate in that as well. Okay. Marketing, the way you make the customers aware of your product, you can do innovation in that as well. So basically this can be a workshop in itself as to what are the different types of innovation. But if I were to just give you an overview, innovation can be done in terms of configuration, right? Some examples, how you make money, you can innovate in that aspect, right? An example for that is Dell computers.
What do you mean make money?
How do you earn money as a company? For example, Dell computers, I don't know how many of you have purchased Dell computers, but how they do is that they give the freedom to the customer to configure the system that he wants, right? I want RAM of 3 GB, I want a processor which is i5, for example. So as a customer, I have the liberty to choose as to what configuration I need for my PC, right? So they are innovating in how they are making money as a company, right? And then you can innovate in terms of network, how you network as a company, right? So basically, it all falls under configuration, right? This is one channel where you can innovate. The second, which is the general notion, is that you can innovate in the product that you're offering, right? How can I make the product innovative, right? An example is again the Intel processor, for example, right? How does my product perform? I can do innovation in that aspect as well. Product system, for example, create complementary products and services. For example, if you see Microsoft Office, they offer their product as a package, right? Monthly subscription, yearly subscription, right? So you can innovate in how you offer the product to the customer. And you can also innovate in the experience, how the customer is using your product. For example, the customer engagement, right? Apple iPhones, right? So they are enhancing the customer experience, right? The customer experience with an iPhone is enjoyable, right? So they are innovating in terms of the experience. So innovation can be done anywhere else, right? That is the point that I'm trying to convey here. Not just the product, but even in terms of the services and also in terms of how the customer is using your product. You can innovate in that aspect as well. Now let's talk about the three circles that you see here. Let's look at each one in detail and then we'll reflect back on that. Let's start with desirability. What do you mean by desirability? What do you think? Okay. Creating something desirable. Okay. Yes. Yes, please.
Making the customers want what you offer.
Okay. Okay. Yes. Addressing the need of the customer. Okay. Any more thoughts? Desirability. You have summed it up basically. So it's related to the human element, right? What exactly do customers desire to have, right? That is the desirability element. What about feasibility? Financial. Is it financial or what else? Yes? Marketing, okay.
Everything related to marketing.
Okay. Okay. Somebody said technology here. Doable or no? Okay. You? Technology. So feasibility, what we can say is that it's related to the technology element, right? Can this be done or no, right? Technology wise, can that be done or no? That is what is known as feasibility. What about viability? What do you think? Sorry, you had
Product life cycle.
Product life cycle. Okay. Any data? Okay. Capability in terms of what? How can you do? Okay. Isn't that technology? Isn't that technology? How am I going to make the product? Isn't that feasibility? I'm just throwing a question. I don't know. Maybe it is viability. Maybe it is feasibility. I don't know.
Maybe ability when I talk about how can do in physical way.
Physical way. Okay.
In technical way.
Okay. Any more thoughts on viability? So viability is basically related to the business element, right? Business wise, will this be a profitable venture for me or no? That is viability. So if we were to combine all the three, desirability is what? What do customers desire to have? What is their need? And feasibility is technology wise, can that be done or no? Right? And viability is, can I make money out of that? Right? Let's say, for example, I'm designing a bicycle. My idea is a bicycle that flies, for example. What do you think? Desirability, maybe it is needed, a bicycle that flies, right? Maybe the customers need it. Viability, if I design that, if I manage to do that, maybe I'll be a millionaire tomorrow, I don't know, right? But technologically, will that be feasible? A bicycle that flies, right? So there is a question mark over the feasibility, right? Can I really build a bicycle that flies, right? That's the question that we're trying to answer, right? So now what I want you to answer, answer this question is that what lies at the intersection of this? Innovation, right? So innovation is when you achieve desirability, feasibility, and viability. If you manage to achieve all the three elements, you are innovating. Don't you think? Right? So you are addressing all the elements. You are addressing the aspect of customer need. You are addressing the business aspect, which is how you are going to make money. And you are also addressing the technology element of it, right? How you are going to make it possible. So this is what is known as innovation. And the tool that will enable you to achieve innovation or achieve the three circles that you see here is what is known as design thinking. And that is what we are going to study today. Yes?
Just small definition for technology here in this part.
Technology,
The technology here is computer and these things.
not necessarily.
Tools and techniques, and tools and techniques that you can. Just I want a definition for
Feasibility, I mean, let's talk about technology. It could be anything. I mean, what exactly do I need? It could be mobile app, for example.
So it's not related to computers and mobile?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. So technology doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a groundbreaking technology.
Can you elaborate more?
On the technology element.
I mean, on the feasibility point. What are you trying to
Okay, let's say I want to design a mobile app for someone who is suffering from obesity. Let's say my idea is a mobile app which will monitor the health of someone who is suffering from obesity. Now the feasibility element is that, can I really pull that off, right? Can I design an app that will enable me to do that? That is the question. Can I really do that? Do I have the resources to build a mobile app for people who are suffering from obesity? Can I do that? I'm asking you. Can that be done? Designing a mobile app. Why not, right? So feasibility, it is possible, right? I can go and design a mobile app, right? That is what his question was. So technology, don't be under the impression that it has to be related to something related to computers or a product, by the way, right? It could be when your product is technology based, right? So that is what is known as feasibility, right? The end message that I want to convey here is that, can that really be done? That is the question that you have to answer, right? Do I have the resources? It could be money, by the way, right? I may have a brilliant idea, right? But in terms of business, maybe I don't have enough money to convert that idea into a product, right? So business wise, it's a failure, right? So you have to address all the three elements. And if you manage to achieve all the three elements, you are innovating. And the tool that will enable you to achieve all the three elements is what is known as design thinking. Clear? Yeah. So what is design thinking? It's a human-centered approach. Focus on the word human-centered, meaning it's all about the customer, right? So the customer is the center of focus here. In design thinking process, if you're learning design thinking, this is the first thing that you have to keep in mind. It's always about the customers and their needs, right? And that's why the word human-centered approach. To innovation, because that is what we want to achieve, that integrates three things. I've put the same figure here again for you to just reflect back on that. That integrates three things, basically. So the needs of the people, this is related to which element? Which element? Desirability, feasibility, or viability? Desirability, right? The needs of the people. If I'm able to address the needs of the people, I am achieving desirability, right? What else? The possibilities of technology. That is which element? Feasibility, right? Can that be done or no? And the third element is requirements for business success, which is what? Viability, right? Business wise, will it be a successful venture or no, right? Because at the end of the day, you want to make money, right? So that is what is known as design thinking. So it's a human-centered approach to innovation that integrates needs of the people, because that is the first and foremost requirement. The possibilities of technology, can that really be done? And the requirements for business success. If I manage to do that, will that be a successful business for me or no? So that is what is known as design thinking. And the next question would be as to what problems can design thinking solve, right? This is a question that one can raise as to what kind of problems can design thinking solve. Yeah. Any human need. Okay. Desirability. Okay. Any more thoughts?
Customer needs.
Customer needs. Okay.
Leaders need.
Sorry?
For the leaders also.
For the leaders also, not just the customers.
No.
Okay. Any more thoughts?
That's the business.
Sorry?
That's the business for this need.
The business element you're talking about? Okay. We'll look into that. Okay. My question is what problems? Yes.
Funding.
Sorry? Funding. Okay. Funding could be one problem. So let's look at let's differentiate between design thinking and traditional analytic methods, for example. How clearly do you understand the problem you're trying to solve? All right. Design thinking is appropriate when we need to explore more and get an agreement. Design thinking is best suited when the problem is not clear for you, right? Let's say, for example, I want to solve the problem of obesity. I don't really know as to what exactly is the problem for obesity. I need to do some exploration in that, all right? So design thinking is appropriate. Whereas traditional analytic methods would be suited when we understand the problem clearly. When you have a clear understanding as to what problem you're trying to solve, linear analytic methods would work best for you.
So you mean proactive versus reactive?
Kind of, yeah, right? It all depends on how clearly you understand the problem, right? If the problem is clear for you, let's say the problem at hand as a business organization, and the past data is telling you that you have to do this and this to succeed, go ahead with the linear method that you achieve, right? For example, if the problem needs more explanation, more exploration, then design thinking is more appropriate. What next? What's the level of uncertainty? The topic that we started with, right? How is uncertainty with respect to the idea that you are trying to solve? There are many unknowns and past data is unlikely to help us, all right? So the past data that is available for me is not sufficient to guide me in the future. So that is when design thinking is more appropriate. Whereas if past is a good predictor of the future, as I just mentioned earlier, so you can go for traditional analytic methods. What next? What data is already available to you with respect to the problem that you're trying to solve? So design thinking is appropriate when very relevant data exists to be analyzed, when you have very little data from the past to guide you, right? I mean, it's not clear for you as to what direction you should be heading in, right? So design thinking is the tool for you. Whereas if you have several clear sources of data, then traditional analytic method is more suited for you. Why? Because you have the clear sources of data. The past data, it explains to you very well as to what direction you should be heading in. So go for traditional analytic method, all right? So that is the difference between design thinking and traditional analytic methods. So the bottom line is that when you are clear as to what you want to do, traditional is the way to move forward. But when you are not clear and the problem needs more time, more exploration, then design thinking is more appropriate. Now how you are going to do that, we'll look into that now, right? Now what kind of a mindset is needed for design thinking? This is another question, huh? So what kind of mindset do I need to have to apply design thinking basically? So for this, we'll have a look at two personalities, Ahmed and Khalid, all right? And we'll look at their personalities in terms of their outlook of life, how they see life, in terms of how they deal with uncertainty, in terms of how they deal with new experiences, and the set of skills that they have, right? So for Ahmed, for example, for Khalid, let's start with Khalid. For him, life is a test, therefore avoid looking foolish. So he is someone who is afraid of failure, right? He doesn't want to fail. He wants to be in his comfort zone, right? He doesn't want to try anything new. Why? Because he thinks that if he tries something new, he might fail and end up looking foolish, right? This is the mentality that Khalid has. Whereas Ahmed, for him life is a journey of learning, right? Even if you're trying to do something new, he will go for it. Why? Because he sees life as a source of learning, right? He is not afraid of failure, right? He is ready to try new experiences, right? Why? Because he sees each experience as a source of learning. And because of this outlook, Ahmed, he accepts uncertainty. Because what we said, uncertainty is what? You have to explore more, you have to dig deep, right? When things get uncertain, right? So he accepts uncertainty based on his outlook of life. What about Khalid? What do you think? He fears uncertainty, right? Because every time he faces an uncertain situation, it throws him out of the box, right? Absolutely. He doesn't like to have new tests. And how about new experiences? What do you think for Ahmed? Accept, absolutely. Seek new experiences, right? He's always going out proactively to seek new experiences. Why? Because for him, new experiences are a source of learning. That is how his outlook of life is. Whereas Khalid, what do you think? Does he seek new experiences? Avoid new experiences, exactly, right? Why? Because he doesn't want to do something new and end up looking foolish, right? That's his mentality. And because of these reasons, what do you think are the set of skills that Ahmed will have? Leadership, okay. So in general terms, if I were to say, he will have broad set of skills. Why? Because he is welcoming new experiences, right? So each experience will teach him a lesson, right? And that way he will have a broad set of skills. What about Khalid? What do you think? Narrow set of skills. Why? Because he is very comfortable in doing what he is good at, right? I am good at doing this thing, give me this job, I'll do that perfectly and that's it. Don't give me new experiences, right? That is his outlook of life. So in terms of skills, he may be proficient in that one skill, but if you see the broader spectrum, he doesn't have a broad set of skills. Agreed? So what you can say is that Khalid has a fixed mindset. He has a fixed mindset. Whereas Ahmed, he has a growth mindset. And that is the kind of mindset that is needed for design thinking. Why? Because you are trying to explore new things, right? So maybe you will reach a stage wherein you will have to accept failure, right? It can happen, right? Nobody can succeed in the first attempt itself, right? So when you're trying to explore something uncertain, something wherein you don't have enough data, right? You are bound to face some challenges, right? And failure could be one challenge. Now how you deal with failure is your perspective, right? So you need to have growth mindset when you want to use design thinking. This is the design thinking process that we'll look at for this workshop. And it is followed at Stanford Design School, and it has 5 key elements basically, starting with empathy, followed by define, ideation, prototype and test.
A question on the previous slide.
Okay.
So now, if your personality is like Khalid, so we leave the
okay.
So I mean, if you're this type B,
okay.
Khalid, how will you be able to do design thinking? It's not
Okay.
what you feel now.
Absolutely. So you'll have to see as to how you can adopt the kind of mindset that Ahmed has. Maybe you want to encourage having new experiences, right? As Khalid, I don't like having new experiences, right? So if I want to break that mold, if I want to get out of that mold, I want to go out and seek new experiences, right? That is something that you have to do, right? As proactively, right? That is something that you have to go out and seek new experiences, right? And that is how you can develop a growth mindset. you have to be comfortable with experimentation, right? Experimentation and exploration should be the key word for you, right? And not exploitation. There is a difference between exploitation and experimentation. Exploitation is you are doing something that you are good at, right? Experimentation is something where I will try and see if I succeed in that. It's an experiment basically.
But you can't change human behavior. Human behavior is really tough.
It will take time. Absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
But compared, like if you change
yeah.
mountain, but you can't
Yeah.
change human behavior.
I'm not saying it's something that can be done overnight, but with time you can change the fixed mindset to growth mindset. There are certain tools and techniques, by the way, as to how you can adopt a growth mindset if you have a fixed mindset. But for the sake of time, it's supposed to be a 2-day workshop, by the way. Design thinking, it's supposed to be a 2-day workshop. But because for the sake of time we have just 4 hours, what we are trying to do is give you an overview as to what the process is and what it looks like, right? Yes?
You can summary all these elements of the Ahmed mind.
Okay.
By saying the curious mind. The curious mind will include all these elements.
Which one you're talking about?
Ahmed.
Absolutely.
Curious mind.
Absolutely. He is always curious to try something new, right? So you're absolutely correct. So growth mindset and fixed mindset.
And I think
Yeah. Previous slide.
With the design, if you can work as a team.
Absolutely.
So you need all the
Absolutely. We'll reflect on that, the importance of working in a team. It's all part of the presentation, right? We'll discuss that at the appropriate time.
The traits of Ahmed versus Khalid is leadership versus management.
Kind of, right? This is how the typical management works, right?
But leadership has innovation. I mean,
absolutely.
Like
so you can see traits of innovation in Ahmed's personality, right? Whereas for Khalid, you don't see that in his outlook of life, right? That is what we're trying to say, right?
You need Khalid mind.
Absolutely. Yeah. As a manager, yeah. So let's look at the how much time do we have for break? Okay. So let's do a quick exercise to discuss this. Yeah. And for this, I want you to divide yourself in pairs of 2. All right. So one will be partner A, and
my partner left.
Let's put his slide here. Okay. He's here.
He's back.
Yeah. So there is a sheet of paper that I'm forwarding to you. So one is for partner A and the other will be for partner B. Do not share it with your partner. Just go through the instructions and wait for my call. This is good. How many? B, A. This is B. This is A. Yeah. This is for you. You have a partner or not yet? You can just go over the instructions. This is for you. 12:15 will break for 15, yeah.
Maybe he can join.
Yeah.
There are 3.
Yeah. Here we have 3 as well, so maybe one can join him.
No, they are connected.
Okay. So there are certain instructions given on the sheet. So you have 3 tasks. For the sake of time, let's just do the first and second task. All right. So the first one is wherein there are certain words that are listed, as you can see the sheet. And what you have to do is convey that word to your partner without even saying that. All right. So you're not allowed to speak. You can only move your lips and try and convey the word. Right. So partner B will have to guess as to what partner A is trying to say. And then you shift, vice versa. Right. B will read out the list of words given on his sheet and then A will have to guess as to what B is trying to say. Right? Very quickly, for the sake of time, let's just do the task 1 and then reflect back on the exercise. All right? So please proceed. Assalamu alaikum. How are you? For you, it will be a problem. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. No, because they have a bias. They have a bias. Okay. हाँ 12:15 तक मैं wrap up कर रहा हूँ. Okay. But at least you can understand as to what exactly is needed, huh? So basically, it's an exercise about people who are mute, for example. How difficult it is for them to communicate a word. Absolutely, absolutely.
Sharpen your other kind of skills.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, you have. Yes. Just go through the instructions. B. Okay. Just give it a try, huh? Just give it a try, and then we'll reflect back on the exercise. Let me do it with you, huh?
Yeah,
I'll be your partner.
Sure.
So the words, I'll try and speak these words, and you have to guess as to what I'm saying. What list you have, B or A?
B.
B. So I have a different list, okay? So just guess, huh? Whatever you think, you just write.
Just write.
Okay. Okay. Second word. One more try, huh? And then we proceed. Okay, next. Is it easy?
No.
Not at all. Yeah. One word, huh? Final word.
Yeah.
It was mud, actually. Mud. I was trying to say mud, but you heard it as bad, huh? So we'll reflect back on the exercise, huh? Just a minute. Pretty easy, huh? They are tough. Huh? Good. Lot of questions. I have half an hour more. How are you? You came today? Yesterday. Okay.
They found an apartment just behind the market.
Oh, okay.
So I'm there.
Okay. हाँ quickly करता हूँ. हाँ. Yes. No. Just do one and then we'll reflect. Because we don't have time. Yeah.
Can you go back to the Stanford model?
Okay. This one? Yeah. Okay. One more minute and then we reflect back on the exercise, right? Okay, please stop. Stop writing. Everyone, please stop writing. Stop writing, please. Okay, stop writing. Finished? Okay, before we reflect back on the exercise, let's watch a video, a 3-minute video. This is a video which was shot at Cleveland Clinic. It has some background music in it, and features both men and women. So as a disclaimer, if somebody is uncomfortable with that, please let us know, right? So we are using here for the sake of education. So I'll play this video. It's 3 minutes long. We'll watch the video and then reflect back on the exercise that we just did, all right? Music कम कर दो थोड़ा थोड़ा बस. नीचे वो एंट्रेंस पे उन्हें है देखो से अटेंडेंस शीट ले लो.
उनके पास है ना शीट?
है
जाते हुए ले लेंगे.
क्योंकि लेना ज़रूरी है क्योंकि पूरी नहीं है.
काम करते ना इनसे नाम लिखवा देते हैं
एंड में लिखा दे.
मेरे पास भी रिपोर्ट नाम ये लिखवा ले.
ये वीडियो डेट नहीं असता. Sorry? Yeah. Pretty emotional, huh? You saw different people going through varied emotions, right? Some are sad, some are happy, right? And the exercise that you just did, it was a way to put you in the shoes of someone who has the disability wherein he cannot speak, right? So you can imagine how tough it is for him to convey a small word. So you were literally putting yourself in his position to understand the problem that they face, right? So that is what is known as empathy, which is the first element in design thinking. So it's the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes, to look and understand things from their perspective. This is what is known as empathy. And it is the foundation of design thinking. Why? Because this will enable you to understand the customer problem in the right way. So the ability for you to put yourself in someone else's shoes, to look at things from their perspective, to see what they see, as the video said, to hear what they hear, right? Feel what they feel, right? That is the power of empathy, right? So how is empathy important for us? That is the next question, right? So we are surrounded by people who we need to understand, from shareholders or investors to employees and customers, right? So if I am the CEO of an organization, it is not just the customers who I should be empathizing with. I have to empathize with my employees as well. Why? Because if my employees do well, my organization does well, right? So you have to empathize not just with your customers, but with everyone who is involved with you in the process. Investors, for example. Absolutely. Which one? Sorry. Empathy with competitors. Oh, I heard that. Yeah, I heard that differently. So for example, investors. Investor, why do you need to empathize with him? With investors, someone who is putting money in your business. Yeah. Absolutely. Because he's taking a risk with you, right? He's putting his money in your business, hoping for you to succeed. You might fail at the end, right? And he might lose the money. But still he's trusting you to do the job for him, right? So you have to empathize with your investors as well, as to how it feels to put in your hard-earned money in somebody else's business. Absolutely. He's waiting for the result, right? He wants to see success, right? So you have to empathize with them. Why do we have to do that? So that we understand the importance, right? We understand the importance of an investor putting in his hard-earned money in your business, right? What else? So when a business empathizes with a need in the world, it can provide a solution that meets the needs of the many. A side effect of this are the large profits generated. So successful entrepreneurs are not the one who always go for earning money, right? Making money is not the first priority for them. First priority for them is adding value to their customer. How can I improve the life of my customer, right? If I manage to do that, the money will follow, right? So that is what the sentence says. So successful leaders or entrepreneurs are those who practice empathy with everyone around them. Agreed? So empathy, we said, is to discover people's needs so as to meet them through your designs. And the next question obviously would be, okay, this is empathy, but how do I empathize? Is there a blueprint that I can follow, right? Is there a procedure that I can follow where I can empathize with my customers or my employees, for example? So that is the next question. So the first thing that you need to do is observe your customers, right? So let's take the example. For example, I'm designing a mobile app for people who are suffering from obesity, right? So first thing, what should I be doing if I want to solve this problem? Sorry? Obesity. Obesity is a medical problem, health problem basically. So what do you think should be my first step? Yeah. You had something? So I would want to start by observing people who are suffering from obesity, right? I try and observe them in their daily life, right? What exactly is it that is causing them to eat so much? Is it stress element, right? So, and this can only be done when you observe your customers, right? So you can start by empathizing by observing your customers. So if I want to design a mobile app for someone who is suffering from obesity, I will start by observing him, observing his lifestyle, how he is interacting with his family, for example. How is he in terms of managing stress? Maybe he's under so much pressure because of the workload that is causing him to eat so much, and that is leading to obesity. So first thing you have to do is observe your customer. But do you think by observation I can identify all the customer problems? No. What else do I need to do?
I need to talk to him and listen.
Talk and listen to them. Absolutely. Yes, you had something? Imagine. Okay. In his position. Of course, that is what empathy is, right? So observation, it might not reveal all the problems that customer is facing, right? So I go, this is by the way an example of observation. IKEA, when they design the furniture, the starting point for them is observing the customer in their homes, right? They observe the customers, right? And see how they deal with the furniture at their home, right? Is there any difficulty for the customer in handling the furniture, right? So they observe the customer in the comfort of their homes, right? If there is a difficulty, for example, with a customer, he's finding it difficult to manage the chair, for example, right? He observes that. They go back to their design room and they design a chair which will solve that problem that the customer is facing, right? So they don't start by designing a chair and offering it to the customer. They start the other way around. They observe the customers first, they try and identify the problems, and then they go and design the products based on what they observe. And that is the reason why you see their furniture is so unique from others, right? The design, the stuff that they offer is so unique. Why? Because they put the customer at the center of attention. They observe the customer first, they identify the problem, and then they go and design the solutions. So that is the power of observation. But as we said, observation alone is not sufficient for us to identify all the customer problems. So we need to go and do what? We need to go and talk to the customers, right? We need to go and dig deep into what we observed in the previous step. And here are some of the tips. For the sake of time, I'll just move forward. So first is observation. Second step is interaction, right? And that is how you try and empathize with your customers. So the whole point is to get your customers talking. That is the whole point here. This is an example, by the way. What is this? An MRI scan. So how many of you have been through an MRI scan? Yeah. And you can imagine the experience, right? How terrible it is, right? So it's a terrible experience, basically. So this is, by the way, the snapshot of an MRI scan which was taken at a research center in United States, General Electric Research Center. And this MRI scan, the center is for patients who are kids who have to go through MRI scan. So for us adults, it is so scary. The whole experience is so terrifying. Imagine how bad it is for kids to go through the MRI scan, right? And this particular hospital, they were facing the problem wherein the kids would not agree for MRI scan, which is understandable. Why, right? Because they are kids and the process itself, it's so scary, right? So they went to the design firm called Ideation to see how they can address the problem. So the first thing they did was that they went and spoke to a lot of kids as to what, but talking to kids cannot reveal all the problems, right? So they spoke to the parents as well. They spoke to the hospital staff, reflecting back on the point that we said. You have to empathize with everyone who is involved with you in the process. So these guys, they spoke to the kids, they spoke to the parents, they spoke to the hospital officials, and what they realized was that the experience of going through an MRI scan is what was really scary for the kids. The whole experience wherein they come, they lie on the bed, the machine takes them in, the strange screeching sound it makes, right? The whole process was really scary for the kids. That is what was really scary. And the worst part was that 80% of the patients, kids, had to be given anesthesia to go through the MRI scan. Imagine a 5-year-old going through, having to take anesthesia to go through the MRI scan, right? So they went and spoke to all the people, and they came up with this design for the MRI scan. What they did was that they changed the complete setup of the MRI scan. So now it was some sort of a game for the kid. So each time a kid comes to the clinic, they would tell them that this is the ship, and the patient, he is the captain of the ship, he is the pirate of the ship, and there is a treasure which is inside the this is supposed to be an ocean, by the way, a ship sailing in an ocean, and as a captain you have to lie on the bed and then go and get the treasure from the other end.
Where was this?
This was at GE Research Lab, San Francisco, I think. There is a link, by the way. You can check this link if you want. Okay. So they changed the experience.
How do you have access to the
Sorry? We'll give you. Absolutely. We'll give you the handouts for the slides. Okay. So what I'm trying to say here is that they didn't change the machine, by the way. Underneath all the colors, all the designs that you see is still the same MRI scan. So technology wise, it is still the same, right? What has changed here is the experience of how the kid is going through an MRI scan, right? So they converted that into some sort of a game. So it's no more that dreadful MRI scan. So it has been changed into some sort of an experience. And this would only be possible when you go and talk to your customers, right? And this was only possible because they spoke to all the people who are involved in the process. The hospital staff, the doctors, the kids, the parents, right? This is one example. This is another example. This is an underwater submarine, for example, right? So an MRI scan converted into an underwater submarine. This is how it was before, and now it looks something like this. Isn't that incredible? Yeah. Right? This is one example. This is another. The kid is made to believe as if he's in a jungle, by the way, and he's on some sort of an adventure, right? And the result of this was that the percentage of patients who were to be given anesthesia came down from 80% to 5%. This was the effect of design thinking. This was the effect of empathizing with people who are involved with you in the process, right? The technology is not changed at all. What has changed here is the experience of how the patients go through the MRI scan. So that is the power of empathy. So David Kelly, this is the design firm that worked with the research center guys, and he says that to create meaningful innovation, you need to know your users and care about their lives. Reflecting back to the concept of empathy that we saw. It's all about the customers. It's all about the people you're solving the problem for. So that is first stage. So at the end of empathy, you are expected to have identified as to what problem you're trying to solve, right? Then comes the define stage, wherein you define the problem in the form of a problem statement. Now what is a problem statement? It will have three elements. First is the user who you're solving the problem for. The second is his need that you're trying to address. And inside is your understanding of his current situation. So if you're offering a product, what is the customer currently using to solve that problem? What is the customer currently using to address the need? What are the solutions that are currently available for him? That is an insight, right? Your understanding of customer's current situation. Why do you think problem statement is needed?
You don't know, if you don't define, you don't know what to tackle.
You don't know where to tackle, okay?
Define
Yes?
usually is always the first step, like it's the main.
Okay, okay,
Define
okay.
To remain focused on the main problem.
To be focused on the main problem, okay, good.
Have a clear vision on the problem.
Absolutely. So basically, why we need a problem statement? Because it gives you clarity as to what problem you're trying to solve, right? You're always clear in your mind as to what problem I'm trying to solve. And second, it provides a reference for you to evaluate the ideas, right? Because down the process, when you go to the third stage, which is ideation, That is the stage wherein you try and come up with all the possible solution, right? So you need some sort of a reference to see if your solution is solving the problem or no. So you come back to the define stage and you see if the solution is actually solving the problem or no. As simple as that. An example, excuse me. This is the snapshot of a rural school in Mexico, and the need at this school was to have a working furniture for the kids because there was no furniture at the school. So who are the users in this case? What do you think? Students basically, right? So students are the users. And what is the need? The need here is to have good working furniture for the kids, right? So that is the need, is to have a working furniture. So the design team went there to identify exactly as to what the problem is. I mean, the obvious solution would be what? Buy a new furniture, put it in the school. That's it, right? But what these guys did was that they went to the actual place. Why? To observe the surroundings there, to talk to all the people who are involved. Observation and interaction, the key elements of empathy. So they went and spoke to the school staff. Why? Because they are involved in the process. They went and spoke to the cleaners, the janitors who work there, right? Why? Because they want to have their point of view as well. Why? Because they are part of the process. So it's all about involving everyone in the process, right? Collaboration, that is the key word here. And they learned that there was a lot of old and broken furniture in the storeroom which could easily be reused. Instead of spending lots of money to buy new furniture, there was a lot of old furniture with minor repairs here and there. It could very well be used for the students, right? So if they had not paid the visit to the school, would they have learned about this development? They wouldn't know about this, right? It's only because they actually went to that place, they observed the people there, they interacted with the people there, that they learned that this is a relatively cheaper solution as compared to buying a new furniture, right? So that is the power of empathy and problem definition, right? So now the problem that they are addressing is not to get a new furniture. Now the problem is redefined as to how you can reuse the existing furniture, right? So that is the beauty of problem definition. And then they can go and ideate and come up with all the possible solutions. Clear? So that is the define stage. So it's 12:15 now. We'll break for prayer, right? And then we come back when? How much time do we get?
Let's make it
30 minutes?
20.
It's 20, okay.
Let's make it
12:45?
12:45.
So 12:45 we come back, okay? So you have almost less than half an hour, right? Okay, see you at 12:45.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. Thank you, Brother Riaz. So now we clicker. Yeah. So now once we have defined our problem, the next stage is that we will now try to look for solutions, and that is the ideation stage. Yeah. The mic. Okay. I think this one is working.
That is for the camera.
Okay, yeah, it's fine. So the next stage after we have defined our problem is that we are now going to look for solutions, and that is covered in the ideation state. How do we validate that solution? That is through prototyping that solution and taking it back to the customer to gain their feedback, and that is how we test the feasibility, viability and desirability of our solution. So we'll start with this question. Do you think that you are creative?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I'm creative.
Anyone else? The rest who did not reply, do you think that you are not creative? Yeah. Okay. So the truth of the matter is that we as human beings, we are all born creative. It is the environment and the circumstances that leads us to believe that we are not creative. Let us hear more about creativity. Let us listen to Dr. Tony Buzan. Dr. Tony Buzan is the inventor of a mind mapping technique, and he is an expert in mental learning. So this is what he has to say about creativity.
What is creative? First, I want to dispel the notion that anyone, anywhere, could be not creative. We have a million brain cells, and they all integrate. Now, anybody with a piece of equipment like that who says, I'm not creative, is obviously making a mistake. What has happened is that they haven't been taught how to use that phenomenal piece.
So that is the key feature, that alhamdulillah we have been blessed with a tool that is the human brain, and this innate property is available to everyone, and we can use it to learn, create and grow. So everyone is creative. If there is a misnomer that no one can be creative, I think it should be removed now. For anything that has to qualify as being creative, it needs to follow two characteristics. It has to be relevant and it has to be novel. Relevance is the degree by which my problem is solved. Let's suppose I make a fully functional product and I take it to the customer, but it does not solve his problem, then there is no need for it. It may be something out of the box. But if there is no user for that, then why is it existing? Novelty is the degree of uniqueness or the originality of the solution. By uniqueness, we mean that how different it is, because we are not looking for reinventing the wheel. That does not fulfill the criteria of creativity. The degree of how unique that solution is, it will depend from different problems that we are tackling with. Now let's come back to the notion of creativity. When we are all blessed with a complex tool that is a human brain, and we have the ability to learn and grow, then why in our daily experience of life we see a lack of creativity? It is because there are certain barriers that hinder our growth. One of them is having unclear objectives. If I am not focused and if I am disoriented, I cannot define my problem well. If I am not able to define my problem well, I will never look for solutions. So we have to have a focus, we have to have a target so that we can create solution for that. And now let us focus on an exercise.
Before we do the exercise, reflecting back to what he said, what were the two elements that he said?
Novelty and relevance.
So creativity, empathy and define stage will enable you to understand the problem clearly, right? Because empathy, you are supposed to go and talk to customers. You are supposed to go and talk to them to identify their needs and then document that problem in the form of a problem statement. So once you have a clear problem statement that you are addressing, that means that you have a clear objective as to what you want to do. So that will lay the foundation for you to try and do something creative, right? So that is what the whole point is. So if I'm not clear as to what I want to do, can I be creative with that mindset? What do you think? I'm not clear as to what I want to do. I just have fleeting thoughts as to what I might do this, I might do this. I'm not clear, right? So that way, there is no room for me to try something creative. If I can focus, if I can decide, okay, this is the problem that I'm trying to solve, I can think of ways of how I can be creative to solve that problem. So once you have the clarity in mind, that is the foundation for you to be creative, right? So that is the first barrier. People are not clear as to what they want to do, and that is where they don't. They try and do something creative, but they can't do it. Why? Because they are not clear. So you need to have clear objectives as to what you want to do. That is the first hindrance for creativity.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Riyad. So Now let us do an exercise. For this we will distribute some empty sheets of paper, and this will require the use of some writing utensils. So if you do not have a pen, we can share some pencils with you. Okay.
Just blank.
And they need more paper. For this exercise, we need you to divide yourself into two teams. Like you need a pair for this exercise. So if there is an odd one, we can even it out. For now, you can even it out with that team.
So what do you want us to do?
Yeah, I'll explain it now.
So each two together?
Yeah.
You can draw his face.
1 minute.
You have 1 minute, huh?
Yeah, I'll explain now. What you need to do now, you have 1 minute. Just draw your partner's face. Yeah. Whatever you see, just draw. Yeah. No problem. टाइम नोट कर ले।
हाँ हो गया ऑलमोस्ट 20 सेकंड सर।
अभी तो स्टार्ट किया। हाँ एक्सप्लेन 1 मिनट।
तो ये कंटेंट मेजर करना 30 सेकंड से करना।
ठीक है, हो जाए तो बता देना।
Seconds more. Okay, stop drawing. Stop drawing.
Yeah. Please, you can stop drawing now, and you can share your drawings with your partner so that he can see your sketching abilities. Yeah, you can finish the exercise now. Okay. So let us continue now. They're really enjoying drawing. Okay, so let us continue now. Another barrier that we face in creativity is fear of being judged. Throughout our lives, we hear things like this: what will the other person see? What will your in-laws say? What will your teacher or your friends say? There is always peer pressure. So throughout our lives, we are facing this problem that if I'm obsessed with someone, if we worry about being judged, then our creativity pattern is very narrow. We cannot think outside the box. So that is the main takeaway for this exercise, that when we give this to children, they will draw whatever they see. If I have a crooked nose, he will draw it. He will not think that this guy might get offended. If I have a funny hairstyle, he is going to draw it. So the main thing is that in an organization that is growth oriented, overcoming fear of judgment is crucial. If I'm afraid from my boss, from my superiors in a meeting, I cannot voice my concerns or give my ideas, my contributions clearly. So overcoming this is essential. Once we overcome this, then our creative index increases and we are no more conservative in our thinking. Now I would like to ask a question. Do you know what this is? Yes. Can you share with the audience?
I'm very fearful.
You are?
I'm afraid to say. It's actually, it prevents rust on the wheels. Use it as a rust defender. That's what we used to use.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oiling.
Oiling. I think you, yeah. No, I'm asking, do you know what it is used for? This gentleman said that it is used as a lubricating fluid. Yeah. This product is called WD-40. It is a multi-purpose purpose fluid. It is used as a lubricant, like the gentleman mentioned, and it is also used as a corrosion preventer. So what's interesting about this product is, other than its application, is its name. The name stands for WD, water displacer, and 40. 40 is the 40th version, the 40th effort that the inventors put to come up with this product. They failed 39 times. So herein lies another obstruction in creativity, fear of failure. The inventors, what they did was they kept trying, they kept learning from their mistakes, and they came up with the final product, which is now a household name in the industry. It is widely used for lubrication and corrosion prevention. So the thing is, like, if we see the life cycle of successful people, there is a journey of failure behind it. If these guys had stopped midway, maybe in their 5th try or 20th try, they would not have reached to this level. That is why they own their failure. Okay, this is the 40th try, and then it became a success. So overcoming fear of failure is also essential. Now let us do another exercise. Yeah, month of birth. So what we need you to do is that we want all of you to, without speaking, just arrange yourself with respect to the month of your birth, and you have 1 minute to do that. Yeah.
So
you
can all come here, and then you can start the exercise.
Yeah.
So I request all of you to just come in the front area, and then we'll do the exercise. All right?
Gregorian.
Yes. Okay. Can all of you come here in the front?
All of it, the whole class?
Yes.
Yeah.
Please, all of you. Everyone is here? So the ladies can do this exercise among themselves, and then the males can do this among themselves.
Yeah.
So what we want you to do now is in 1 minute, without speaking, you have to arrange yourself based on the month of your birth. Okay, start now. Without speaking, arrange yourselves based on the month of your birth.
And you have 1 minute to do that.
No. Just
it's up to you.
It's up to you. You have to decide as to how you are going to do.
January, December.
You don't
speak.
That is the rule. Here is January. February. March. You are one. April. Okay. May. June. July. August. August 3. September. That's it. We've grouped. Okay. So just keep in mind the technique that you use to group yourself. You can go back. And then we can replace. You guys are done? Yes. Where is January?
Nobody.
Nobody.
No,
February? No. March? April? May? May is 1. June? July? August? September? October? September? October? November? December? Okay. Let's reflect back. Go back to your seats and then we'll reflect back on the exercise.
This is a refreshment exercise.
Yeah.
So we succeeded?
Yes.
Yeah, I will tell you. Rigidity ये skip कर दो ना.
हाँ, कर दो. Rigidity in thought.
Okay, so we have replicated this exercise a lot of time, and all the times we get the same results, and we will discuss those now. It's a good thing that you do not have December or November, because when we have December and November, we only have 10 fingers on our hand, and our previous exercise groups, they have difficulty in calling out 11 and 12. So the main takeaway of these exercises is that we are talking about rigidity in thought. That if you have only one spectrum, you cannot be more creative enough. So you have to have flexibility in your thought.
So if I
Yeah.
can add.
Yeah.
So when we gave you the exercise, I don't know who initiated that, but somebody raised their finger, this to indicate
Yeah.
January, and somebody did this for March, right? And then all of them followed what he was trying to do, right? So all of them followed that pattern. So this will represent March, this will represent May, and all of them followed, right? So maybe that is the best approach to go forward. But the point that Mr. Danish is trying to make here is that we always follow the obvious approach in thinking, right?
Yeah.
So when we see someone coming up with a solution, all of us try and follow that solution, right? That is what is known as the rigidity in thought, right? And creativity, he's going to reflect back on that.
Yeah. So, like Brother Riaz mentioned, the purpose of this exercise was to explain to you that when we are solving a problem, okay, the best solution may solve the problem, but it might not be creative enough. Okay. As a group, when you are working in a group environment, we tend to follow the first idea that has been floated. Creativity comes, and this we will experience together later on, when you have bypassed the top obvious ideas. When the obvious ideas has been exhausted, only then the more wild and crazy ones, they start showing up. And also, when we are working in a group environment, sometimes we have, if I am the owner of an idea, I have a tendency to say that this idea belongs to me, and then the group follows. But when you are working in a team environment, it is essential to realize that idea has group ownership. If I originate something, then the other person can build upon that. Okay. So now we will discuss the rules of ideation, which simply means generating lots of ideas quickly and then choosing the right ones to move forward with. So there are certain elements within this description. When you are trying to come up with solutions, we have to generate lots of ideas. Yes, we have to go for quantity. In the initial phase, we have to have a huge amount of ideas and quickly. Because when we work under time constraint, our brain is haywired in such a way that when you are under time constraint, it becomes overpowered and you come up with good solutions. Once you have good quantity, then you choose the right ones. Once you have quantity, then you go for quality. You are not going to judge your ideas in the initial phase. And once the best solutions are selected, then we prototype and test them and we move forward with them. So now we'll do another exercise. Next slide. Which is the 30 circle exercise. It's just to exercise your creativity muscle, and then we will explain what this is later on. You have 30 circles in front of you. We'll distribute the sheets now. What we want you to do is that in 1 minute, try to make use of the 30 circles and fill them up with recognizable objects. The first one has been done for you. It represents a basketball. So you can try and fill all of these so that it resembles something recognizable. Okay? You may choose to do whatever you want, connect few circles together to make something. It's up to you.
So sorry again, what are we supposed to do with this?
Yeah?
What should we do?
Stop now?
I'll tell you. Come again?
What should we do now?
You have 30 seconds only?
No, 1 minute. What we want you to do now is fill these circles. Okay. Make, give meaning to them. Make them something recognizable. For example, in the first one, it represents a basketball. Second one could be like an orange or something. So you have 1 minute to complete this exercise, and it's flexible. You can draw whatever you want. Connect 2 or 3 together. Example bata diya. Yeah, you can start now.
Yeah, you can start the exercise.
Any objective or any symbol, or it must be a circle? Like
Anything, just give meaning to it. For example, this is a basketball. Next one could be an apple or an orange, or go on. You can connect these together as well.
Banana, for example.
Anything, it's up to you. This we wanted to share later, but you can just have a quick glance at it.
This is just an example. But if you see, the first circle is like a worm. The second is converted into a baseball.
Yeah. So now you can continue. And
so likewise, just to give you an idea as to what is required.
एक मिनट. उसमें टाइम लगेगा. एक्सरसाइजेज
ऑन ट्रैक है या ज़्यादा होगा?
पता नहीं.
आइडिएशन 1:30 तक है और 15 मिनट.
टाइम बताओ कितना?
30 seconds. Seconds. Okay, time up.
Yeah, you can finish now. Okay. Who was able to complete the whole 30 circles? Ah, nice. So we will look at a sample example. Okay. What this guy, if we reflect back on the points that we discussed, once the obvious solutions are exhausted, like the wheel, baseball, orange, the crazy ones start to follow up. Alarm clock, he connected 2 circles to make handcuffs. These represents a brain cell. What we usually do when we are ideating, we start to tend to edit and evaluate things in the initial phase, and that is what is not required initially. We saw some people, we were editing their diagrams, they were rubbing out and they were then correcting their circles. So in the initial phase of ideation, there is no need to edit or evaluate your ideas, because that will come at a later stage. We tend to stop doing and start focusing on judgment. If we judge our ideas at that moment, we cannot think. Our brain can do either one or the other. So the key element of ideation is deferring judgment. You do not judge your idea in the initial phase, because usually in a group setting, what we see is that if a person generates an idea and I shoot it down, then that contribution is lost, because there is a very thin line between something being very crazy and not doable and something being extraordinarily brilliant. If we judge that idea initially, then we are not doing justice to it. We did not test that idea. We don't know whether it is very crazy or it will be a breakthrough idea. So initially we need to defer judgment and go for quantity, generate as much ideas as possible. And that is the second key element of ideation. We have to go for quantity and not for quality. Why this is important? If I have a great pool of ideas, only then the likelihood of coming up with the best solution will be higher. Like if I have 50 good solutions, then I have a greater chance of coming up with best solutions instead of when I have only 5 solutions. So quantity is essential if we want to create out of the box ideas. And how to ensure that we have a good enough quantity? For that we need to work in diverse teams, because if the team consists of individuals who are from the same background, let's suppose, then their thought process is only one-dimensional. They will look at the problem through a single perspective. If there are different pools of people, then they will see the problem from different angles, and the solution that comes out from that discussion will be varied. So that is one of the key elements of ideation, working in diverse teams.
So let's say, for example, if you have an engineer on a team, and then you have a medical doctor on the team. So an engineer will look at things from a different perspective, based on his past knowledge, right? And then a medical doctor would look at the same thing in a different way, based on his own experience. So different people, they have different backgrounds, right? Yeah. So the more diversity you have in a team, the better it is for brainstorming. So as an engineer, I might have an idea, and so a medical doctor can use that idea as a foundation and then build something on that based on his understanding. So that is the beauty of working in a diverse team, when you have people from different backgrounds, and that is where the creativity is enhanced. So that is what the message here is, working in a diverse team.
Yeah, thank you. So now we will look at the example of diverse team environment. This video is from IDEO. IDEO is, as we mentioned earlier, is a design thinking firm, and they are the founders of this design thinking principle. And coming up with creative solution is a daily work. It's their bread and butter. So let's see what a typical design thinking team consists of.
True ideas happen every day here. The key to unlocking creativity at IDEO may be their unorthodox approach to problem solving. They throw a bunch of people with different backgrounds together in a room. So you're in business anyway? Yep.
My background's in software engineering.
Journalism. Aerospace engineer. Doctors, opera singers, and American culture. You got to have collaboration, you got to have diversity, you got to have an anthropologist and a business person and an engineer and a computer scientist. All you got to. That's the hard part, is the cultural thing of having a diverse group of people and having them be good at building on each other's.
Yeah, see, in one of few offshoots from a typical design team was that they have a mathematician and they even have an anthropologist. Maybe the product is very technical, but the anthropologist can look from a human-centered point of view, see the cultural background. Maybe a product that has been designed in America might not be culturally fit for the Saudi Arabian environment. So diverse perspective is always helpful. Now, what we'll do is, we'll try to implement these ideation techniques, and we'll work in diverse teams to perform an ideation exercise. You will be given, I'll explain. You will be given a case, a design challenge. Before that, what we need you to do is divide yourself in teams. There can be 2 teams for the ladies and 3 for the gents. And just keep in mind the ideation principles, that you are going for quantity and you will not judge the idea at that time. Let's suppose one member comes up with the solution for the problem that we will present now, and you jot it down. The second person comes up with a different perspective, you jot it down on the sheet. The third person can build up on the idea of the second or the first person, and you take a note of that. So in the time that will be given to you, just do this. Think of solutions and go for quantity. And so this is the design challenge. How might we inspire households to adopt healthier eating habits? This is a problem that is, that most of us face, and it is very relevant. So certain points to consider are in 2013, an estimated 43 million children under the age of 5 suffered from early obesity. And since 1990, this problem has increased 60% and is still relevant today. Some might blame this increase on a shift in exercising habits because of the advent of different digital platforms. Others might point to the family structure and a decline in family mealtime routines. So what might you do to solve this challenge? How might you inspire households to adopt healthier eating habits? We can reflect back on our childhood as well, that as a kid, I used to love chocolates. What would make me move from that and see carrots and vegetables as a healthier alternative? So divide yourself in groups and start thinking about these solutions, and you can start now. You can make use of the flip charts if you like.
You have 15 minutes from now. Right? So your goal is to come up with all the possible solutions that you feel can solve the problem of adopting healthier eating habits. Is the problem clear?
Yeah.
Yes. So now is the time for you to identify all the possible solutions.
You can use the flip charts if you like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Somebody from this group can join these ladies just to have the balance.
Yeah. And we can have one team here and maybe 2 more teams of the gents.
If you can join.
Healthy ready meals in newspaper, in supermarkets, calories counting applications using calorie counting, weekly newsletters for recipes, for diet for example, or healthy food in general, social support groups, for example, either WhatsApp or Twitter or like that, or in general groups of women working together, like conferences or such things. self-rewarding, providing sport equipment. For example, if you work on use sport equipment, you feel tiring or tired in general, and then you feel how it's difficult to lose calories. After that, you decide to have healthy food, providing support. Okay. Family support.
I think let's, for the sake of time, that should be sufficient. We have 5 more. Let's give them a hand. Who wants to go next?
First of all, we have taxes on junk food, more taxes, awareness campaigns, media, social media, schools, financial support to healthy food, and we also have government support to organic food, developing regulations for healthy food, encouraging organic food and farms. Number 7, the last, toys, magazines, cartoons that encourage children about healthy food in different markets. Thank you.
Here at this part, we focus mainly on how to provide information or to do that through, first of all, provide training, then provide information through different means of information providing, like flyers or anything. Then home visit to make some more information, give more information about healthy food and food scheduling. And then include some information about healthy food in schools curriculum. Organize campaigns to make and spread awareness about food using social media and TVs, enhance healthy food industry, and encourage restaurants that provide healthy food. One of the most important issues that we didn't focus on anything that provide fear about bad food, because that is based on some consequences. Yeah, we don't believe of fearing people or providing something that fear them. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we basically focused on habits in the house. Number 1, provide suitable options for healthy snacks instead of chocolates and cookies. 2, rewarding system for good eating habits. 3, remove the TV from the eating room. 4, arrange eating times. 5, grill instead of fry. 6, pre-prepare easy-to-make healthy meals. And last but not least, limit eating out to once a week.
It's basically to internalize the healthy eating habits. Basically, we are talking about giving financial incentives within a family for those who lose excess weight, reduce sedentary activities like sitting on TV and video gaming, by making more group fun activities like outings, weekends together, and outdoor activities. Also sharing healthy home cooking and more family eating. Also having more sports activities and putting a scale everywhere so that each one can check on his weight every now and then.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can move this to the side. Now that you have come up with different solutions for the problem, the next step would be to selecting the best out of them, and then we try to validate them, and that comes in the prototyping stage. When you have an idea and you want to test it, you develop a prototype. A prototype is just giving your ideas a basic form that you can take to the customer. Your user can interact with it and give you his feedback. Based on his feedback, you again ideate and you keep on improving your prototype until you get the final product or service that solves the customer's problem. So we'll start off with a question. What do you think a prototype is? What is your notion of a prototype? What do you think is a prototype?
First draft model. First draft model.
First draft model. Anyone else? Yeah.
First, look at the product or service.
True. So prototype can lie in different realms. For example, when you talk about mobile mockups, when you talk about applications, a mobile mockup is a prototype for that. It shows basic sketches and functionalities of that application. Someone from an engineering background might see prototype as something that represents a basic structure of an equipment, or maybe something that has been 3D printed. For an electrical engineer, it might be a mesh of circuitry that performs some basic functionalities, or it could be a computer simulation. So based on our backgrounds and our understanding, based on our background, we give prototyping a particular definition. Prototype is all this and much more. What it simply is any representation of a design idea regardless of the medium. You can use any medium to transfer or translate your idea, and you can do it in any manner. For the sake of discussion, we are going to talk about rapid prototyping. Rapid prototyping deals with early stage prototypes. In the early stage prototypes, we are focusing on three main things. It has to be fast, it has to be rough, and it has to be cheap. What we mean by this is that when you give life to your idea, when you bring your idea into the physical realm, when you present it to your customer, you have to make it in such a way that your ideas transfer quickly, because you do not want to invest more time on developing the final product without the customer's feedback. Let's suppose I make a fully functioning product, and I spend a lot of time and research and energy on it, and then it is taken to the customer, only to realize that it does not solve their problem. So it is better to start with engaging the customer early on. So the early prototype has to be fast, rough, and cheap. For example, these basic cheap materials were used as a first-hand prototype to represent a dentist gun, to give the feel to the user that what a dentist gun would look and feel like. Based on the experience, the technology and the functionalities will be added to the prototype. Why do we prototype? We need to build in order to think. What is there in the mind, it stays in the mind if it is not brought into the reality. If we develop the idea in the physical environment or in the virtual environment, we are able to interact with it. As a designer, I am able to see the problems first hand, and I can fix the problems accordingly. So building a prototype is essential if we want to think and develop that idea. Gathering feedback from stakeholders and end users, because these are the ones who are going to use your product at the end. If we don't have their feedback, we cannot create a product that will solve their problems. And failing early to succeed sooner. Again, if there is a final product in which time and energy has been spent and it does not solve the problem, then if we realize late that this thing does not work, then it will affect all our resources and energy have been gone to waste. So early prototyping helps in covering this aspect. The more we fail early on, we are saving ourselves from a bigger loss that might come at the end. So now we will share some example of prototypes that basically what are the different aspects of prototypes, what different forms can a prototyping prototyping technique take. The first example is application that was created by IDEO. It is for a monster maker app. It is an app for children. Apple approached this company to develop this app. So this is how they prototyped it. Apologies, it has some music in it, so we'll mute it. So see what they did. They have to make an app. So the logical path could have been that they could have made an application, took it to Apple. Apple might have put it on Play Store and see the feedback of users. What they did was, instead of investing all this time, they just made a cardboard cutout. A guy is acting out the movements, and that is how they prototyped it. So once this idea was sold to the user, they went and developed this. So prototyping in this way helps us in creating a final product without investing a lot of resources early on. And we can fix the problems early on as well. Second example is that of an architect's computer. It was handled by the Apple design project in 1992. Architects, they are mostly on the field, and their job description is such that they are handling vendors, they are looking at charts, and they are pretty much occupied and mobile. So Apple was given the task to design a computer for them that would be handy and not very handy, as well as robust, because the work environment is that there is cement and there is sand, and if it fails, they need it to be robust as well. So what they did was, they use a pizza box. The first prototype was used by taking a pizza box and simulating it to represent as a laptop. And then it was given through the architects. The design team then observed how the architects interacted with this prototype, and this helped them in developing an architect computer for them. The third example is that of capturing a user experience. Ford developed an empathy belly because they wanted to provide solutions for expecting mothers. So they created this prototype so that their design team could experience the pain that an expecting mother goes through, and because of that, once you experience it yourself, it helps you in developing the product and adding functionalities to it accordingly. So this is what they did. So to sum it up, the prototyping steps are that you build your prototype, give a form to it so that the user can interact with it. Because once they interact with it, they will give you valuable feedback. When you're sharing your prototype, make sure not to defend it. You take it to your customer and you look for his feedback, because his feedback is valuable. If I say to my user that no, this is going to solve it because I said so, he is not going to give me his valuable opinion. And that is the third stage for prototyping, that you have to listen carefully and take into account the feedback and improve the prototype until we get a final product. So now what we are going to do is, we'll go back to the exercise that we discussed, okay, the eating habits exercise, and now you have a good number of solutions. What we want you to do as a team is that vote among yourself and select a best solution out of that, and then prototype. Here you can draw sketches to explain your solution, what your solution would do. Okay, if it is an app, you can just draw an application of the functionalities, and then you will share it with your colleagues. By vote, one way you can vote is that you can take, we can share some colored stickers with you. Each team member can take 2 and paste it next to the ones that they think are the best, and the entire team can do it in the same manner. And the one that has more ticks or more colored stickers would be your best solution, and you can prototype it accordingly. Or you can just discuss among yourself and select the best one to prototype. So you can go back to your flip charts and start doing this exercise.
समझ रहे हैं तो दो ऑप्शन है, या तो हर चीज़ समझ में आ रही
या बिल्कुल नहीं आ रही, या समझना चूतिया छोड़। वीडियो के लिए इसमें तो रिकॉर्ड तो नहीं हो गया। इसको कैसे बंद करा?
gathering. Our program plays sports every week. That's the whole process.
Okay, so the time is up. So yeah, the time is up now. What we want you to do is explain your prototype to the audience, and then we'll allow just one reflection of the audience on that prototype. So you can start first. If you, yeah.
Hello?
Everyone kindly listen
Yeah.
to this.
In our case, we already proposed 7 solutions in the previous class, in the previous training exercise. The first one is to provide training, provide information, visits, schools curriculum or campaigns. So we looked at those 7, and we chose number 4 is school curriculum.
School curriculum. Okay.
So we did a prototype for school's textbook for grade 1. This is graded by the Ministry of Education for grade 1, this textbook. So we did just the table of content. We want to design it with a good designer, graphic designer or something like that. Lesson 1, the content including lesson 1, the letter A. Lesson 2, they will teach them numbers from 1 to 5. Lesson 3, they will give them a lesson about be strong with vegetables. Lesson 4, they will go back to letters and then numbers. It's not sure. It's not about apple. It's about the letter. So the idea here. No, it's not that. It's not that way. We are not looking for include a textbook about vegetables or these things. We are just, the idea is to include healthy food and some things that attract students, like be strong with vegetables, go fast with wheat, be beautiful with the phrase or strawberry or something like that, for be smart with carrots like things or something like that. So the idea is to include something in the school's curriculum which was already proposed in the first exercise. So we did that. We will design it, announce it on Twitter or something like that, and we will look for feedback and comments and shares about that. So if it's go well, we will go to the Ministry of Education to give them an example and prototype about how to include these good habits about food in curriculum and not make it separate activities. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Who wants?
We design an application for the calories reminder or counter. This is the first page of the first screen of the app. It presents the day, Sunday, for example, and there are 4 recipes. It's for the 3 meals: breakfast and lunch and dinner. When you click one of it, it will give you the calories and the minerals, if it's zinc, potassium, vitamin, and that's. It's also count, for example, you enter your weight and tall and gender, then it count what is the best amount for you. For example, here, 1,200 calorie. If you use any recipe, it will calculate the using amount and the remaining amount. So you can control the calories you eat.
Thank you.
We chose the awareness campaign on social media. So we analyzed what's the best channel to use, and we found that it was Twitter. So we created an account. We communicated with interested organizations and people. And then we chose the topics of the campaign to encourage healthy food and healthy eating habits, awareness of sources to healthy food, warning of negative impact of junk food. We agreed with the stakeholders on kickoff day, Saudi Food Drug Authority and other stakeholders, important stakeholders. And then we made the hashtag for the campaign, and we started. Yeah. Thank you.
So we basically were focusing on habits. We didn't have a big prototype. We chose the first one: provide suitable options for healthy snacks instead of chocolates and cookies. We all know that cookies and snacking 24/7 is one of the main reasons for obesity. So for that, we said, instead of putting cookies and chocolate available everywhere, provide some healthy snacks. For example, a fruit salad in cups in their fridge, ready to be taken immediately. Replace sugar with the honey, the natural honey. Also, we can provide bran and fiber cookies and biscuits instead of the regular ones. And the last one, we said we can make some homemade chips, like just bringing your regular natural vegetables and just provide or make them into chips. That's about it.
The last Steve.
Well, it's basically to encourage families for outdoor activities and more sporting activities. So we thought about inviting them to a park and giving them a chance to enjoy group activities and sporting activities. This is basically how to introduce the idea to our customers. we have chosen outdoor activities to promote the idea of outdoor activities and more sporting activities. Basically, we thought about inviting families to a park or after school activity, and then give them a chance to enjoy such sporting activities so that we can build on it and promote the idea.
These hands on mic. Don't make it like. Okay.
So at the end of the exercise, there were some very nice ideas that came into that were shared. Incentive-based activities, application, healthier eating options, change in the curriculum, and in awareness campaigns. So since we are lacking time and we didn't bring gifts with ourselves, with us, we'll skip the team ranking and pitching part. So we'll end the presentation with this summary that ideally this is how our design thinking path should follow. Empathy, definition first, validating the ideas, generating ideas and then validating those ideas. But in reality, this is what happens. You might be in the ideation stage and you might realize that the problem definition was wrong. You again go back into the empathy stage. You might test your idea and then you realize that the problem was not defined properly. You will go back. Maybe you need more ideation. You will go back. Especially in this dimension, it is an often repeating loop. You prototype, you ideate, you test. You prototype, ideate, and test until you get a final product. So that is all from our side. Thank you for being a patient of the audience, and I hope